who have contributed this asset to actually have ownership of that asset. That's a good thing. We support it.
Andrew Little.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. It's a pleasure to take a call on the South Taranaki District Council Cold Creek Rural Water Supply Bill. Mr Speaker, it's very good of the member who just spoke to say that she's going to be in Whanganui on Monday with Chester Borrows. She's about an hour and a half's drive away from the area that will be affected by this bill, so she's got a little more work to do if she wants to get an understanding of just how people feel about this bill in that area, because there is not a unanimous view that this is necessarily a good thing. Let me be very clear. The Labour Party will support this bill. That's the position that's been taken. But because Dr Nick Smith thinks in very simple terms, he can't understand that there might be, graduations of support, and there might be other concerns that are equally relevant. Shades of grey in his case. Yeah, not 50 yet, not 50 shades of grey, hopefully. Exactly. But that's right. No, we like to keep our cultural references current and to the point. No pun intended. But here's the thing: the Labour Party will support this bill, but that is not a reason not to register the sorts of concerns that my colleagues have already noted, and Grant Robertson in particular. Let's be very clear. The farming community in all parts of Taranaki, but also in South Taranaki, are absolutely vital to the region, are a good bunch of people, which is why the Labour Party enjoys in Taranaki a very good, close relationship with the local branch of the Federated Farmers. We have good dialogue, we meet regularly, and we have good discussions. But there are concerns about measures like this, and those concerns should be put on the record. Let's just go to the origins of this particular water scheme. It was funded by a 50% or a dollar for dollar grant by central government when it was put in place in the mid-1980s. And that grant was made its way through what was then the Egmont County Council, which had responsibility for that area. I don't know why it later became the South Taranaki or the STD Council, as it is known locally. A most unfortunate name, but I promised I'd get off the 50 Shades of Grey. But it had a 50% subsidy from central government. Now that subsidy was paid on the basis that the scheme would have will demonstrate a greater than usual marginal benefit for the subscribers or the users of the scheme. And indeed, that has been the case. Of the submissions that went to the SLEET committee, Mr Speaker, there were some very good ones that showed actually the impact of the scheme. So those local farmers, the ones who were originally part of the scheme and those who have come into it through succession or acquisition of farms, have enjoyed not just the benefit of the mere existence of the scheme, but the added value that it has created. And that's a good thing. And it's a wise use and a sensible use of taxpayer money and a partnership relationship between the government and communities such as this. There were two other sources of value that have made up the scheme. One is the sweat equity of the farmer subscribers to the scheme, who at the time of its construction used their plant and machinery, amongst other things, to assist in its construction and development, and also their hard labours as well. But also the local district council, now the South Taranaki District Council, that has provided its engineering expertise as part of the maintenance of the scheme, and particularly in terms of the headworks and the pump house, have provided some maintenance and engineering expertise to support that and be part of its upkeep. So it is not true to say that it is just the hard labours of the local farmers who are the beneficiaries of the scheme at the moment. And that is why I think it is important that we take time and we pause to reflect on just exactly who has contributed and where that value might be properly reflected. And it's for that reason too that it is good to see that as part of the referendum process and the change that has been suffered as a result of the SLEET committee process is that it's not just a simple referendum, but it is a referendum that requires all of the relevant information to be put before the electors, those who will be able to take part in the vote. And let's be clear about what some of the farmer members who have made submissions to the committee, why they want it, why they want this transfer to go ahead. They've been very clear. One of them, one submission was from a farming couple. They say they've got a farm near Takiri with 2 dairy farms and a dry stock unit, and they received their water from the Cold Creek system. And this was from a second-term councillor in the South Taranaki District Council, who had declared his conflict of interest. But he said one of the attractions of the scheme when it was built was the one-to-one government subsidy, on the basis that it is able to generate a designated economic gain from production increases. And he went on to say, or those submitters went on to say, that the reason they wanted the divestment now is they didn't want this scheme to be caught up in potential negotiations over iwi settlements. And another farmer said, a farmer by the surname of Ardern, not the chairperson of the scheme, not the member, but a different Ardern again, said they support it because, as he described it, it puts ownership of the scheme infrastructure where it rightfully belongs, local ownership and management. No acknowledgement of the public contributions to the scheme, but just that the locals should have ownership of it. Another submitter, Anna Dadunsky, had said that local ownership brings with it a quicker response time, and that the local ownership of Cold Creek water supply is fundamental so that only the residents on the scheme have a vested interest in protecting the waterway and ultimately the future of the river, which is Cold Creek. And that is the farmer sentiment, but it's not all entirely correct. The iwi, one of the main iwi who submitted on it, of course, noted that they hadn't been consulted on it. Now, one of the other things, the changes that the Select Committee process created was that there will now be proper consultation with the local iwi, and not just one iwi, but of course all local iwi. They will all now be consulted on it, and they will have a chance to have a say. None of that was in the original bill, and none of that went before the South Taranaki District Council when they were being asked by Chester Borrows and Shane Ardern and Shane Ardern's brother to support the bill. So those changes have been made. It's important those changes were made, and it's good that they have been. And for those reasons, in spite of the reservations we had originally, Labor will support the bill.
Maggie Barry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to speak to this bill, and I would like to echo some of the sentiments that were raised by the local member who proposed it.